Hi guys, welcome to week 3 of Waymaker, our teaching series on the way that Jesus was and the way that Jesus is. We obviously didn't put one online last week because when we were meeting in person, we actually did training on the sound desk, doing sort of AV and that kind of stuff. So we didn't actually do a presentation last week, which is why this is going out this week, because we're doing it this week instead. So let's begin. This week we are looking at how Jesus is a promise keeper. We're going to be looking at John 14, Peter 3 and Hebrews 10, and I can't wait to get started on this with you. So have you ever had anyone make you a promise and then they just forgot all about it? That's really frustrating, isn't it? It's not just me. It's not just me who gets angry about this, is it? Like, this is really, really, really annoying. When I was planning for my wedding, which obviously I still am planning for my wedding, but obviously we've had to cancel it due to COVID, postpone it to next year, all that kind of stuff, and it's been a massive, massive hassle. But I spoke to my maid of honor, and I was a bit kind of like, I think I still want to do something on the day that would have been my hen party, but I'm not sure and I don't know. And she said, Charlie, I promise you, you're going to have a good day. Regardless of what we have, you're going to have a good day. And I didn't hear anything for like 2 months. I didn't really think about it, but you know, she was rather quiet about it. She didn't really say very much, and I didn't really say very much, but I wondered if she'd forgotten completely all about it because she had so much stuff going on, and because she wasn't mentioning anything. And then about a week before what would have been my hen do, I got an invite and it sort of said, yeah, come on Zoom on such and such day at such and such time. And not only that, but she delivered a cake, like a really awesome big cake that was amazing, really good. But I thought she'd forgotten all about it because she hadn't said anything. And I felt a bit put out because I was sad enough as it is that I wasn't getting married. I was even sadder that like I wasn't going to be seeing my friends and my family and all that kind of stuff. So the fact that she was silent didn't mean that she had voided her promise. If anything, it was more of a surprise because she'd been working behind the scenes the entire time to give us this absolutely amazing. Funnily enough, it was 2 weeks. Like for our actual wedding day, she organised a takeaway meal and flowers to be delivered and all that kind of stuff. So just because she wasn't saying anything didn't mean that she'd voided her promise. It just meant that she was, you know, working behind the scenes and planning this really brilliant surprise. So yeah, I love her. She's awesome. But let's have a look. How does that sort of tie in with our relationship with God? Have you ever felt like God went silent after making you a promise, or that he forgot? It might feel like he forgot about you. How does that make you feel? Today, we're going to have a look at the promises of God, and we're going to experience Jesus, who's our promise keeper, in a new and exciting, hopefully, way. So let's take a look at John 14, 1-3. This is Jesus talking to his disciples. He says, "Do not let your hearts be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. My Father's house has many rooms. If that were not so, would I have told you that I am going there to prepare a place for you? And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come back and take you to be with me, that you may also be where I am." So Jesus in this passage is asking his disciples and also us to trust him, because he's promised us a place in heaven, and he promises us that when it's time, he'll come back and get us. In Peter 3, 8-9, Peter says this: "Do not forget this one thing, dear friends. With the Lord, a day is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years are like a day. The Lord is not slow in keeping his promise, as some understand slowness. Instead, he is patient with you, not wanting anyone to perish, but everyone to come to repentance." God is not slow in fulfilling his promise. It's just that his timeline looks different to our timeline. I'm going to use an example that I saw another youth worker use, and I really hope that you guys sort of get the understanding of it. Okay, so it's a pen. Yeah, okay, kind of obvious. So this pen is linear. It's a line. This is like our timeline. Okay, so we have like death and birth, and we have our lives. So we are essentially sort of seeing that, like we're seeing the end. Like we know that is like the final point, because that's how our time is. Like we know like the past, we know the present, we know the future. Well, we don't know the future, but we know we have a future. Whereas with God, I mean, God is like all over the place. Like God is kind of like us. Like he is looking at the pen. He can sort of look above it and below it and to the side and all that kind of stuff. He sees it all. So he is here in this moment, but he is also here in this moment, in this moment, in this moment, this moment, this moment. He is all around. He's not slow because our view of time, our understanding of time is not God's understanding of time. That's what we mean when we say his timeline looks different to ours. I don't want to quote Doctor Who. Who am I kidding? Of course I want to quote Doctor Who. Basically, God's timeline is wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey stuff. He's like all over the place. He's not just one time line. He's like a time jumble, almost. I hope that makes sense. Anyway, let's continue. What does the previous passage mean for us? We, as humans, doubt God's promise when we don't see it. This great reminder encourages us that the Lord is not slow or forgetful, but he's patient for those who don't know him yet. Let me tell you a story. When I was 14 years old, maybe 15, a woman came to our church from a place called Bethel, and she prayed over me, and she told me that that I was going to be a leader, and that's called prophesying. And I was a bit kind of like, you know, I'm 14, I'm an introvert, I don't really like people, I don't like speaking to a crowd, I don't like speaking in front of people, I don't like performing in front of people, I don't see how I can be a leader because I don't like that stuff. And that kind of caused fear, because I didn't see how it would be possible. I didn't see how this prophecy, how this word from God could be real, because I was not the person that it could be. God promised me that I would be a leader, but for years and years and years, like a decade, just under a decade, I didn't see how that could work, because I couldn't see the entire picture. I couldn't see where God wanted me and what God wanted me to do and how I'd be able to fit into that picture, because I was sort of seeing this bit of it, whereas like the picture is like this, you know? We need to seek God. We need to trust God even when we don't see God. Basically, in Hebrews 11, it says, "Now faith is being sure of what we hope for and certain of what we don't see." We might not necessarily see God. We might not necessarily see the big picture. We might see this aspect of the big picture, whereas we're not seeing this picture. Faith is having confidence in what we hope for, an assurance about what we don't see. You have to be assured that God is doing his thing, else it's not going to work. So, why is it so hard to wait patiently on God's promises when we don't see them? The bottom line, guys, is Jesus is a promise keeper. It might not happen at the time that we want, it might not happen in the way that we want, but he is that promise keeper. You just have to believe that. If you take nothing away from this video, take away the fact that Jesus is a promise keeper. So Hebrews 10. "Let us hold unswervingly to the hope we profess, for he who promised is faithful. And let us consider how we may spur one another toward love and good deeds, not giving up meeting together as some are in the habit of doing, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day approaching." Hold on tight, guys. God is trustworthy to keep his promise. It might not look like it, it might not feel like it, but spur each other on, be together. Don't give up meeting together, don't give up spending time together. We have to keep believing, we have to keep the church going, because he will keep his promise. How can we apply this to our lives? Scripture affirms that God is trustworthy and will keep his promise. Additionally, it gives us work in the waiting, motivate one another to good works, meet together, and encourage one another. It can be incredibly difficult to wait for good things. I mean, you remember Christmas as a kid, right? Flippin' heck, I mean, that was so hard to wait for. You knew it was coming. You knew you had that Barbie doll under the tree, or Action Man, or whatever. You knew you had that amazing present under the tree. 25th of December couldn't come fast enough. It's really difficult to wait for good things. But one of the greatest things to help us wait on God is to have a strong community around us. When we have people around us that motivate us, spend time with us and encourage us, it helps us stay strong in waiting. God has given us community for this reason. We stay strong together. You need people in your life who accomplish these roles for you, but you also need to be these things for others. You can't do this journey alone. Christianity is not about being alone. Part of trusting God well is doing it with a community of believers that he has given us. So how do we apply this? Motivate, spend time with, encourage people. Being a Christian's hard. It is not easy being a Christian. That is why we need these people around us, these little bubbles, these little friendships who can encourage us. Who, when you've had a hard day at school, people can say, "Don't worry, I'm here for you." It's not easy, and you can't do this alone. Not even just Christianity. You can't do life alone. You might say, oh, I'm an introvert. Yes, maybe you are, but you still need people to lean on. Trust me, I'm the biggest introvert there is. One of my favorite things to do is just like hide in my room. Hide in my room, read a book. Don't talk to anyone or see anyone or anything like that. But I have a number of good friends on my phone who I know I can call at any point. Any point. Funnily enough, they're my bridesmaids, but you know, that's what friendship's about. Being there for people, leaning on people, looking after people, encouraging people. Send someone a nice text. Let them know that you're thinking of them. Apply this. Be there for each other. So let's finish off, guys. I hope you're taking something away from this. This week you might be struggling to see God moving in your life. Maybe he's made you a promise, but you don't see the solution, you don't see the bigger picture. But be encouraged, because God is on the way. You might not see it, but we will stay strong and wait together until God moves. If you have any prayer requests this week, feel free to contact me or my team, and we will happily pray for you on Saturday night or on Sunday morning or during the week, whatever you want. We will pray for you. Feel free to come to us. I hope you have an absolutely fantastic week, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye, guys.